All right, so let's get started. Well, welcome to Anatomy and Physiology, everyone. I'm going to walk through the course policies, and anywhere along the way, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute, ask. If one of your classmates don't feel comfortable asking, unmuting and asking out loud, they can type into the chat, and then if someone else who's willing to read it out for me can read it out, that would be great, because again, I'm sharing my screen, so I don't see the chat function right now. Okay? All right. So to start out, a little bit about me. So I'm right here, the shortest person in this picture. About my communication style. So the best way to communicate with me is through email. And I usually respond within 24 to 48 hours. So that's about 1 to 2 days. I do get a lot of emails though. So sometimes what happens is that the email gets, I open it and then I intend to reply and I forget and then I completely forget. So it's not that I'm purposely not answering you. It's just that sometimes it slips through all the other emails. So if I don't respond to you within 24 to 48 hours, just please forward it to me again, bring it to my notice, and I'll be like, oh, so sorry, and I will respond right away. All right. If it's anything urgent, like you are having some issues while you're taking the exam, feel free to text me. Okay. My cell phone number is listed on the syllabus, so go ahead and feel free to text me or to call me. Okay. I'm very short in my reply. So let me give you a little history about this. So I always read your review comments at the end, the student evaluations. And one of the students wrote that she didn't, that they didn't feel that I was interested in the students. I'm like, no, I really do care. But just my way of communication is that when I reply on emails, I'm very short in my responses. So if you ask a question, I will answer that question. And that's mostly it. So I don't go, oh, how have you been? Hopefully, you know, how's the weather in where you're from? I'll just answer your question. So I am very short in my replies to emails, but I'm like that with everyone. So please don't feel insulted if all I do is, you know, if you ask me a yes or no and I respond with a yes or no. Okay, so I want to know that I am here for all of you. So please feel free to reach out to me, ask any questions you may have. And that's I think one of my skills, or the good point about me is that I do respond to all emails eventually, unless it gets buried in. But do ask me any questions you may have, okay? Because that's why I'm here, is to answer any questions you may have. Tips for this class. The best thing I can recommend to you, I had a class that did super well. Like the class average was like a B. And when I asked them what helped them to do so well, because that's not typical, my class average is normally a C. They said that they formed really strong study groups. So that's why study groups is the top of the list for my tips for this class. Having study groups or meeting with the TA, or meeting with each other, not only helps you with the content, but also helps you with the moral support. And in this class, it's intense. You know, the more content and moral and support that you can get for this class, the better you'll do. Sometimes you know it's good to say, oh my God, that question was so difficult, you know, and you can talk about it and yeah, I found that question to be really tricky too. What do you think the answer was? You know, so talking through it helps, you know, build up your confidence level as well as just your comfort with the material. So I highly recommend study groups. Okay. Rewriting your notes. That's, I've been teaching this class for about 25 years now. And every single time a student asks me what's one of the top things you can do for this class, I would say rewriting your notes. And when I meet with students who struggle in this class, that's one of the things that help them to improve the most. Because I take a student evaluation at the end of the course and I ask them, you know, what helped them the most? And they'll say rewriting their notes. Okay. Exposing yourself to anatomy and physiology early and frequently. Please, this is not the class that you want to wait last minute to study. It's a lot of content, and when you have massive content, the way our brain works is that you have to like gently add layers of information on. It doesn't work to put all of this information all at once. You know, you have to let it soak, let it soak and percolate a little bit, you know, And that's why starting early at the beginning of the week, like on Mondays, and then continuously study a little bit each day, about 2 to 3 hours each day, will help you get to the point where you need to be at the end of that week, so that you can do well on your quizzes or your exams. Okay. A good source to use is the announcements page. I will post something every week at the beginning of the week, usually on Sundays. And even though on that post, I'll say this is recommended materials to do. So it's not on your course Canvas materials, and it's recommended. It actually, what I really mean is that it's highly recommended. It's materials that I create for you specifically, for this course specifically. So think of it as your second stop. So your first stop would be all the materials on Canvas. That's your lecture videos, your PowerPoints. The lecture scripts is also a good thing to have on hand. So once you go through all the materials that are posted on Canvas, then the next material that you want to go through is the materials that I post on the announcements page. Okay? Any questions so far?
No.
All right. The syllabus. I'm a big Star Wars fan. So read the syllabus. The syllabus you must. So the syllabus is very dense. It has a lot of information. If you print it out, it's about 5 to 7 pages. I can't remember anymore. It's dense because it has everything you need to know on it. And oftentimes when you ask me a question that's on the syllabus, I will direct you to the syllabus. It's not that I'm being mean, but I want you to get into the habit of reading things before you ask questions. And of course, if I tell you to go to the syllabus and you still can't find it, then I'll be like, okay, it's on this page, this thing, but it's good to be able to find the information yourself if it's available. So the first stop for you, if you have any questions, but specifically about the course logistics, go to the syllabus. I try to make it as detailed as possible. So most of the information you need will be on the syllabus. Okay, so start there first. Read it, print it, highlight it, particularly the policies and the due dates. Okay, a lot of students ask, are we able to submit late assignments, or are we? What does the quiz look like? How many questions is on it? How much time do we have on it? All the information will be found on the syllabus. Okay. And of course, I'll go through it today as well, since it's the welcome session. So for this course, it's divided into 4 main units, which also mean that at the end of each unit, you'll have an exam. Okay. So the first unit covers the introductory chapter, the chemistry chapter, the cells, tissue, and integumentary, or your skin. 5 very basic chapters, but a lot of details. So start early. And for me, I know personally that I struggle with chemistry, so I would probably set aside a little bit more time to study chemistry. So for you, if you've had science before and you know that you struggle a little bit more with integumentary system, for example, then set aside a little bit more time on that. Okay, so in the email that I sent to all of you, hopefully I included the time expectation of this course. Think of it as a part-time job. It really is about 20 hours. Think of it that way. So, and particularly that because this class is online, you have to consider the 4 hours that you would normally have to sit in a class to listen to the lecture, and then the time you have to study outside of it. So a lot of students go into online classes thinking that, they just have to put in the study time. No, you have to put in the time that you would have sat in a class to absorb that information and then set aside time to study it. And that's why it's an online course is quite intense, okay? The nice thing about the online course, though, is that all the lectures are recorded. So for me, I like to hear things more than once. So because things are online, I can pause, I can take my notes, I can continue whenever I'm ready, I can replay a certain section that I didn't understand. So there are pros and cons to an online versus an in-person class that you'll find that you may like online better, okay? So after those 5 chapters, you'll have an exam. And the exam will be, you'll have a lecture exam and a lab exam. So every single week in the intro, chem, cells, tissue, and integumentary chapters, it will end with a quiz. And then the following week, so after those chapters, you will have a week to prepare for the exam. And then at the end of that preparation week, then you'll have your exam. Okay. So there's a week in between where there's no new content, and you have that week to just kind of, assess what you know, study what you don't know, and then prepare for the exam. The second unit is on the skeletal, joints, muscles, and nervous. It sounds really light, but I'll tell you, the second unit is probably one of the most difficult units, because muscle and nervous tend to be the most difficult chapters for students. Skeletal and joints are relatively easier, but the muscles and nervous, I'll tell you right now, you probably want to put into your schedule that you want to set aside as much study time as you can for muscles and nervous. Muscle technically is 2 chapters, and nervous is also technically 2 chapters, because there's the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Okay, so just kind of put a little star by unit 2 and just kind of make a little note that you'll need more time for that exam. Okay. Then the third unit is on the CVS, cardiovascular system, which includes blood, heart, and blood vessels, and then the respiratory and digestive. Again, it looks really light because there's a cardiovascular, respiratory, and digestive, but technically cardiovascular includes blood and heart and blood vessels. I find that students in healthcare really like cardiovascular system, so that tends to be one of their favorites, as well as respiratory. Digestive is really fun. It's my personal favorite chapter, but it's very, very detailed because you have to memorize all the enzymes and what products they break down. But beyond that memorization, it's logical. It should make sense. Okay, and I hope you have as much fun with that chapter as I love that chapter. Then your fourth unit is the urinary, endocrine, and reproductive. For reproductive, it does include both male and female. And at the end of the fourth unit, you will have a comprehensive exam. It's your last exam. So think of the comprehensive exam as the fourth exam. Half of it is like the fourth exam, and the other half is on the previous 3 units. Does that make sense? Questions?
Makes sense.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
I've noticed that this class has a lab included into it. Does the units include the lab as well, or are you going to get into the lab as well?
It includes the lab as well.
Okay.
So once you go into the modules, each module has the objectives for the lecture and the lab. Yep. So it's all included in this one Canvas course already.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And it will make it's a lot right now, but it'll make more sense once we actually get started. And of course, once we get closer to the exam dates, I'll give you a lot more information about the exam. So for now, just take it one day at a time, one chapter at a time. Okay. All right. Other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was trying to find the PDF for the syllabus, but I can't find it.
It shouldn't be a PDF. It's on the Canvas page itself. So if you go to Canvas, go to syllabus, you should see it there.
Okay.
If you want to, you can print it out directly from there.
Okay.
Otherwise, what you can do is you can Control-C to copy it and then Control-V to paste it on like a Word document.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Great question, by the way. Other questions? All right. There are a lot of good resources out there. And just as there's a lot of good resources out there, there's a lot of resources that may confuse you more. Okay. So the resources that we've provided for you on Canvas and in the navigational materials and in the supplemental materials is a lot already. if you are the type of learner that likes to have things, all set, then everything that we've given to you on Canvas is all you will need for this course. But I have learners that like to have a lot of other materials. And if that's the case, then what I would recommend as an external resources that I have recommended in the past is Khan's Academy, Amoeba Sisters, and Complete Anatomy. It's an app that you can use. And of course, Quizlet technically isn't anatomy and physiology, but you can use it to study anatomy and physiology. Okay. And if any of you do happen upon a good resource, let me know, and then I can list it for everyone else as well. Okay, but really, the Canvas course itself has all the materials that you'll need, the materials that I post, and that should be your primary source of information. The secondary source of your information will be the materials that I post on the announcements page. And then the third source of information that you can go to as supplemental will be the navigational materials. Yeah, so those are your three main resources. And if you want to go outside of those resources, then Khan's Academy, Amoeba Sisters, and Complete Anatomy. Okay, questions?
I have a question. Can we use our notes during the quizzes?
Nope, no notes. That's a great question. No notes on the quiz nor exams. And actually the very first question, it's not worth any points on all quizzes and exams, is I understand that I'm not allowed to use any notes, any resources on this quiz or exam.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a gentle reminder that you're not supposed to use anything. Yeah. All right. Great questions. So what are you graded on? You are graded on the lecture component as well as the lab component. So for the lecture component, you have assignments. These assignments are I shouldn't say that. These assignments are relatively easy to do. You can use your notes on them. You can use other people. You can use any resources you want to do the assignments. Okay, there are 11 of them, and the lowest one gets dropped. So let's say something happened and you're really sick one week, or you just couldn't do an assignment one week, no problem. It doesn't even reflect on your grade because the lowest assignment is automatically dropped. The other nice thing about assignments is that you can redo them. I will grade them and you can redo them, okay? So let's say you only got 7 out of 10 on one of the assignments. I will comment as to why you only got 7, why you lost the 3 points, and you can feel free to redo them, okay? There are certain things, though, that are time sensitive on the assignments in terms of points that you cannot redo. So for example, within the assignments, you do have 4 video assignments. Part of the video assignments is you have to provide feedback on your peers, because the video assignments are really meant for you to interact with your peers and provide feedback with each other. I'm only there to grade, okay? So if you did not provide feedback for your peers or substantial feedback for your peer videos, then those points you cannot make up because it's time sensitive for them, okay? But otherwise, all other assignments, all other points, you can feel free to redo them until you reach the point that you're satisfied with, okay? Now for lecture quizzes, there are 11 lecture quizzes as well, and the lowest lecture quiz is dropped. So same thing, if something happened one week and you just, you couldn't take the quiz, no sweat. You don't even have to email me. You don't have to do anything. A 0 will be entered for that quiz, but it will be dropped. Okay, so the lowest lecture quiz will automatically be dropped. Okay, I do want to talk a little bit about the quizzes. Both the lecture quiz and the lab quiz is opened all week, open from Monday until Sunday. Because it is open all week, come Sunday, let's say you didn't understand the time zone difference and you passed the date, the time that you can take the quizzes, and you email me. Unfortunately, because it is opened all week, there are no makeup for those or retakes on these. Okay, so they are, again, open all week, so you can take them anytime from Monday to Sunday. So make sure you don't wait until the last minute to take them because there are no retakes nor makeup on these, okay? You do have 2 attempts on each one of them. So use your attempts wisely. They're different questions. They're randomized, so I don't even know what questions you're gonna get, okay? They're randomized questions and you get 2 attempts. I would use the first attempt to kind of study first, okay? So Monday, you start studying, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then say Thursday comes by. You take the first attempt on Thursday and you kind of figure out, okay, what questions did I get? Or what point did I get? Because I don't release the questions until the very end, okay? So you can see your points, but not which question you got wrong. Now, so the first attempt, you'll get a score, and you've seen the questions, right? So you can figure out, okay, which one did I not quite understand? So that's probably the one I got wrong. So then you study, and then at the end, maybe Saturday, I would not wait until Sunday again. Saturday, take the second attempt. All right, so you do have 2 attempts on these. Make sure you use them because I have students who didn't use them and they only scored like a 7. Like, why didn't you try a second time? You know, I always drop the lowest score. I only take the highest score, okay? So it doesn't hurt you to take it twice. It only helps you. All right, questions on the lecture and lab quiz policy.
I have a quick question. Do you find that most students will do the lecture and the lab quiz on the same day, kind of pair them together? Or do you think, does that help with the understanding of everything? Or do you see that people are submitting the lecture quiz, let's say on a Thursday, and then the lab later in the week?
I asked them about this actually because I was really interested myself. And they say, and their response is whatever one's the easiest, they do first. So some students find the lab component easier, so they'll do it first just to get it out of the way. And the first attempt is a 10, so then they only do 1 attempt on it. And then for others who understand the lecture component easier, then they do it first. And same thing, if they got a low score, they'll study and then take a second attempt. If they did really well, then they'll just take that score. So it's whatever you find most comfortable, but what students have responded is that they tend to take the easiest one first just to get it out of the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Okay. So it's open from Monday to Sunday, and then it closes on Sunday at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Any time I give you is based on Central Standard Time. Okay, so all of your exams, all of the assignments, all of the quizzes are based on Central Standard Time. I try to keep it as consistent as possible, so it's always going to be 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay? Quizzes are always due on Sundays. Exams are a little weird during the spring because you have the spring break and then you have the Easter break. So they're not as consistent as they usually are. Okay, so make sure you read the syllabus for those dates. Okay. What else? Lecture quizzes, lab quizzes I talked about. Exams. I'll talk a lot more about exams when the date comes. The exams, I get a lot of questions. Are the quiz questions the same one that will be on the exams? No, they are not. Are they similar? Yes. Okay. So they are similar, but they're not exactly the same. They are also randomized, so I don't even know what's going to be on your exam. How your exam questions are created, they're taken directly from your lecture material. Okay, so they are taken directly from your lecture material, every single portion. So there may be some questions that are very detailed, but every single thing can be found in your lecture materials. Okay, they're taken directly from there and they're converted into questions. And then each section has buckets, and then we'll say randomize 1 question from that bucket or randomize 1 question from this bucket and so on. So really, when students ask me, I'm not trying to be tricky and say you have to study everything, but you do, because I don't even know what's going to be on your exam, to be honest. I mean, I do know the general content, but I don't know what questions because it's randomized. Okay, so it's to your benefit to make sure you cover all the materials on Canvas first, and then make your way through the other content, because all of your questions come from the exam, from the Canvas content, both lecture and lab. Okay, so I get a question. Why do we need the textbook then? The textbook has excellent additional examples that we may not cover in our class. They have beautiful pictures. They're very important for your lab. But do you need to use your textbook as your primary source of information for a lecture? Personally, as an instructor, I would say use everything, because all information is good. As a student, I would say no. As a student, I would say if you're trying to do this strategically, go for the lecture content, because the book is meant for anatomy physiology 1 and 2. Some of you may only need to take one unit, one course of anatomy physiology. So the textbook has a lot more information than you need to know. How do you cipher what you need to know from what you don't know? That's very difficult, right? And that's why the best way to do this is just to concentrate on the materials that are presented in your lecture videos. I hope that answers your question. Questions?
I had a question for the exams. Do you do like exam reviews, and like is it tailored for each student? Like if I made a meeting with you, could you tell me which questions I got wrong?
So I do exam reviews. It's for everyone though. So we go through on that Monday of your preparation, I always have an exam review session. So we go through kind of what you should study, and if there's any content that you're struggling with, then I let you decide what you want me to cover. So then I'll cover that material during those those exam reviews. Afterwards, any student who scores below a C, because I want all my students to pass and get into your program, any student who scores below a C, I'll send you a personal email and say, let's meet up one-on-one. But if you're doing well, then you don't need to see me, really. We have TAs as well, so you can definitely meet with them as well. But I usually try to focus on getting everyone through my class.
Is there a scenario where you could tell us which questions we got wrong?
Oh, you will know. So once I grade
okay.
them, once everyone has taken them, I grade them. I will release your exams. And then for the first 2 days, I release the correct answers. But after that, because of I don't want the questions to be spread, too far. You can always see your exams and the questions you got wrong. You just won't be able to see the correct answer. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then someone asked, are we going to be meeting visual for lectures and labs?
I don't understand that question. So this course is meant to be asynchronous. So we don't meet. Do you mean like in person, or what do you mean? Online, you mean?
I think that's what that person meant.
Okay. So I can't require students to meet
virtual.
Virtual. Okay. So because it's an asynchronous class, I can't require you to meet with me. So that's why I can require you to either come to this session or watch the recording of it. But I can't require students to, so we don't have any required meeting where it's only virtually. Does that make sense? So everything you need for this course is on Canvas already. Yeah. Other questions? These are all really good questions.
I have a question. So about the textbook, I know you had kind of posted that it isn't currently up, but when it is it going to be found under course materials, or where will we find it in Canvas?
Yep, it's under course materials.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep. Now, I know a few of you have chosen to get the physical book. So everyone who enrolled in this class will automatically be charged for the ebook. You will get an email from the publishing company, I believe, telling you about the policy, how long you can use the book for. If you choose to opt out of being charged for the ebook because you already got the book yourself, make sure you do it right away. Otherwise, you will have paid for your physical book and be charged for the ebook as well. Okay. I will tell you this though, the ebook is extremely cheap. It's the cheapest price we can find, and that's why we went with the ebook. If you are planning to take this, if you're in a program, if you're not in OTA, but let's say you're in sonography, or you're in a program that requires you to take 2 terms of this course, then you probably want to buy the book, because you'll need to take the second. So this is general anatomy and physiology, and if you're in nursing or sonography, you'll need to take advanced anatomy and physiology. So if that situation is you, then you'll probably want to buy the book rather than pay twice each term, or pay once each term, so total of twice. If you're in OTA, radiography, then I would probably go with the ebook, unless you prefer like the physical book to study from. Other questions? All right. So grading policy. Grades will be posted within 1 week of deadline. Okay, so whenever the deadline for the entire class is to submit that assignment, I will post the grade within 1 week, the latest. Okay. So please don't email me a day after you've taken it, because that just floods my email. So I had a class that, they just wanted to know, and I completely understand. But for me to respond to all of the emails takes away time that I could be grading for you. So give me some time. I try to get the grades out to you as soon as possible. My priorities are the quizzes and the exams. And with those, I try to get them out within 1 to 2 days. Okay. Your assignments, because they take more detail, more time to grade, those I actually sometimes go to the 1 week deadline, or 1 week after the deadline is. Okay. So if you want your grades faster, don't email me just to asking me about the grades, because then again, it takes time to reply to it. It takes away time that I could be spent grading. Okay. Always, please do not hesitate to ask me questions. Yeah, this is your class, and I'm here to support you. So ask me any questions you may have. Okay. All right. So for the assignments, now sometimes students can think of these assignments as, it's wasting your time. Do you really have to do them? Think of it this way. This is 10% of your grade that would have otherwise have gone to your exams. Okay, so if you did poorly on your exams, these 10%, may be what saves you and helps you to pass this class. Because again, remember, the assignments, you can redo them. The assignments, you can actually use your notes to do. The assignments, you can get help on. Okay? So, and the assignments, to be honest, is things that you should be doing anyways as a student. So these assignments were created by several faculty going, okay, when we talk to students and help them to study, these are the things we tell them to do. So now we're just putting it in there. So if you haven't been to school in a long time, or if this is your first time in college, these are really critical for you to learn, and actually you can use them in any science course. Okay? So please don't think of them as wasting your time. They're helping you in many ways. Okay? So there are 7 critical skills assignment, 4 video assignments throughout the course. And I will tell you this, a lot of my students love the video assignments because they feel that when they are able to lecture on something to other students, they feel like they have to have a stronger understanding of it, and they do after creating that video. So please enjoy it. These assignments are meant to be really fun. Not all of them. Many of them are meant to be fun. Okay. The low score for these 11 assignments would be dropped from the grade book. One of the 11 will be dropped. The combined assignments is worth 10% of your final grade. So completely worth it. Another question I often get is there extra credit? So from the feedback I received maybe 2 years ago, yes. So I put in extra credit. Okay, so there are 2 ways to get extra credit. One is called one is community building extra credit. In other words, if you meet with me, a TA, or as a study group, and you create 3 muddiest point questions, in other words, you studied and you just didn't understand this and you just need to talk it through, then ask these questions during your session, provide the responses to your questions, and then email it to me. And if it's just a study group, in other words, no professor or TA, then you also want to send me a screenshot of your Zoom session, and then you get 2 points for each session, a maximum of 10 points. Now the 10 points, what is that worth exactly? It's worth 1% of your grade. So let's say that you're at a 72% and you need a 73% to get a C in this class. That could be a difference between you passing and failing. Okay, so it is significant. Okay, the other extra credit opportunity is towards the end of the term. It's called inequities in science. We like to think that science is very objective because, you know, it's data driven, fact driven, but it turns out it's not quite. And that's what I want you to explore. It could be because of social economic reasons, racial reasons, or disability reasons. You can explore any inequities that are created due to science. Okay, so have fun with that one. And that one is also worth 10 points. So again, 1% of your grades. That's a total of 2%. So let's say you get a 71% and you do these 2 extra credit, that brings you up to 73. That means you get a C in this class, and that's what you need for your program in OTA. Okay, and I'm assuming most of you are in OTA. Okay, all right. Any questions on the assignments or extra credit?
How many points is the inequities in science? Is that one
10
10?
points.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
So, but you can only complete like one or the other. You couldn't get like 20 points if you did both.
You can do both.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes a difference, especially come the comprehensive exam. Yeah. Okay. So this is just to tell you a little bit more about the assignments. So the first assignment is on time management and cognitive mapping. Make sure you go in. I provide feedback. So if you didn't get a perfect score, check the feedback to see why you lost the point and then how you can make it up. Then the second assignment is the cytology video. There's rubrics that we'll go through, and then other assignments, so on. But you can see that all of these are really a part of study strategies that, you know, you want to have for college. All right, so there are 4 video assignments altogether that you have to do. Here's the grading rubric. Okay, you're going to begin your video with your name, date, and the topic that you're presenting on. So if you've taken this class previously and for some reason have to retake it, you have to do a new video. Okay, content-wise, did you include all the components of what, you know, the prompts of what you need to answer? That's worth 4 points. It has to have a narration. In other words, you have to explain it, because that's the point of doing these video assignments, is to show that you know it well enough. And so the video assignments are really meant for you and the class more than for me. So I just go in and grade them, but you're trying to explain it in a way that makes sense to your classmates. So make it fun, you know. And sometimes students get so savvy with this, like they could probably put it onto YouTube and have subscribers. They're so tech savvy. I'm just amazed by it. It's beyond what I'm able to do in terms of video. So, you know, you can benefit your classmates by making such a good video that they now understand a concept that they couldn't understand before. Okay, so 2 points for your narration. So you have to talk, you know, explain what you're trying to teach. It has to have a visual, and this is where students lose points on. The visual must be created by you. It can't be an image that you took from an outside resource. It can't be an image from the textbook. You have to physically draw out or create on a computer. And if you create on a computer, sometimes you do it so good that I'm like, did you do this or did you take it from somewhere? So just in the video somewhere say, I created this video. I created this visual, okay? So you don't get docked the 2 points. But the visual has to be created by you, okay? So it can't be a stock image, okay? And then the last 2 points is to watch and provide feedback on 2 other peer videos. Saying, great job, I love your video, that's nice, then that's very Minnesota nice, but not constructive, okay? So the point of this is to help each other. So if you saw a classmate's video and you're like, oh, that's not what I remember, type that in. I think your function of the mitochondria is incorrect. It should be this maybe, you know? So provide feedback that is helpful for them. And if they didn't make any mistake, then you can, you know, say, I didn't see any mistakes in here. Great job. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay. Recording a live video. So when you're doing your video recording, it cannot be an attachment. Okay, you cannot attach it onto Canvas because it's, in order for someone to view it, they have to download it and then open it. And some people don't have the app to open it. So what I'm requiring students to do is either they record it directly on Canvas. So if you go to Canvas, you can actually insert video and then do your recording directly on there. Or you can create a video, post it on YouTube, and then link it to the Canvas so that they can just do a one click and it directly gets them to your video. Okay, so those are the 2 ways, and here are the directions on how to do that. Here's specifically how you can do the recording directly on Canvas. So if you go to upload, you can either upload or record media, and that will allow you, you're not going to upload, okay? You're just going to record the media directly, or you're going to link it to your YouTube. Okay. Oh, and I should also say I will not grade it unless it's either directly you record it directly through Canvas, or it's a link through YouTube. So if I have to download it myself, I will not grade it. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does that include our introductory videos that like some of us posted today?
That's okay. Because it's not worth any points.
Okay.
So that's fine.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I had the same question.
Yeah.
I was struggling with it looked different, and I realized that it was in like the lower thing, not the upper insert, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Noted for future. Thank you.
Exactly. So the intro is fine. It's just meant for everyone to get to know each other and maybe form study groups. You know, if you find someone in your same city. Okay. All right. So quizzes. Quizzes are open all week. They have to be complete by Sunday, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is true for lecture and lab quiz. They require respondents lockdown browser, but the webcam should be optional, but recommended. And the reason why I made it optional is because I'm trying to be as least invasive as possible, but recommend it because if you have anxiety about being recorded, sometimes it helps to go through it before you take the exam, which is required to be recorded. There shouldn't be any password requirements on these. And if there are, try the password anatomy. That's the password we had like 10 years ago when we had this online class. I should have removed all of the password requirements, but if it's lingering from 10 years ago, the password is anatomy. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I tried to get the lockdown browser earlier, and it said it installed like 3 times on the computer, but then when I tried to do the practice quiz, it still was trying to get me to re-download it.
Do you have a Mac?
Yes.
That's why. So if you have a Mac, it's very sensitive to the iOS system. It has to be the most updated version. So you may have to try that. Update your iOS first and then reinstall it, and it should work at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. If you don't have a Mac and you have issues with that, I don't know. I'm not computer savvy enough to know that. So in which case, if you have issues with the respondents lockdown and you're not a Mac user, then that requires IT help. So submit a ticket to help desk. If you need help finding where the help desk is or the internet or email, let me know. I can send that to you. Okay. All right. So lecture quizzes will always be on the current week's lecture modules. There's 10 multiple choice questions. Lab quizzes are on the current week's lab modules. They're 10 and you have to type them in, okay? And guess what? Does spelling count?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it does. So when you're studying for the lab quizzes, make sure that you're not just studying on how to identify them, but practice writing them out as well, because spelling does count. And the best way to learn how to spell is to write it out, okay? All right, so students have 2 attempts. There are no makeup or retakes, okay? There is the practice quiz that is available anytime. And I highly recommend you trying out the practice quiz. Let's say if you move from one computer, so if you were taking the quiz at home versus all of a sudden you have to take the quiz at your parents' house, do the practice quiz first just to make sure that computer is compatible before you try to go in and use up your 1 attempt or 2 attempts, okay? All right, so the quizzes are really meant to be a learning tool. Review the quizzes. I can't stress that enough. Review the quizzes after the grades have been released, okay? Go back. What chapter did you get it wrong? What question did you get it wrong? Why did you get it wrong? Because sometimes, maybe when you were taking your notes, you wrote the wrong thing in your notes. That's the best time to catch it. And that's why make sure to use your quizzes as a learning tool, okay? And not just for me to check in to see if you're, making sure you're keeping on track, okay? It's really meant more for you than for me, okay? All right.
I had a quick question
Yeah.
about the webcam. Wait, so is the webcam only optional on the practice quiz?
No, ma'am. The webcam is optional on all quizzes.
Okay, but not the exams.
Not in the exams, exactly.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. The exams, just think of it as if you were taking an exam in person, it's always proctored, right? No, I mean, I don't want to watch your recordings, honestly. Nobody wants to watch your recordings, but it's meant to be there to ensure academic integrity. So one of the important things that I'll talk about when we get close to the exam is the environmental scan and the importance of the environmental scan. So we'll talk about that when we get closer to the date. Okay. All right.
I have a random silly practice quiz question.
Well,
Is
so-
this is it just like to practice make sure technology work, or can I take it multiple times just to I am very bad at test taking. I always have been, but I'm manifesting good vibes this year. Um, is it something that it's just multiple questions every time you take it, or is it just like a one tech thing?
it's a tech thing, so it's the same questions. It's not worth any points. So if you want to take it more than once, just to and that actually works. So if you are nervous, if you condition yourself, So what I do is, because I get nervous on exams too, so I have food next to me. I have a ritual that I do before I take exams, to calm my nerves. And then sometimes the conditioning of it. So if you take a practice quiz, just even though it really is not testing your content, your knowledge at all, just the fact of opening it, taking it, the more times you do it, the more conditioned you are to it. So then you get less stress when you actually have to do the real thing.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So quizzes and exam requirements, this is directly from your syllabus. Oh, I said I'd talk about the environmental scan later, but I guess I'll do a little bit about it right now. So you already know about this. You are super ahead and you already asked me, are you able to use any resources? And the answer is no. When you're taking the quiz, please make sure you have reliable internet connection, because once the quiz starts, you will not be able to open it again. Okay. Respondents lockdown browser with monitoring is required when taking all exams for this course. A thorough environmental scan is required. And if you do not complete a thorough environmental scan, you will get a 0 on that exam because it's not going to be graded. Assure your computer meets minimum technological requirements to support responders. Lockdown. So hopefully none of you have a Chromebook because Chromebooks do not work. iPads do not work. You have to have either a Mac or a PC of some sort. Take the practice test a few days prior to taking the exam, just to make sure that the technology is working. And contact me, and you can even, I would actually say, text me if something happens during your exam. Okay. Yeah. Accommodations. Okay, so if you qualify for accommodations, I don't know why you wouldn't use it. So a lot of students are able to qualify for student accessibility and accommodations, and that what that means is it could mean that you get a reader, during the exams, because sometimes students with dyslexia, for example, have difficulties reading it, and you don't want to be graded on your inability to read versus your actual, do you know the content, right? So there's a lot of accommodations that we can provide if you qualify for it. So make sure you contact the student accessibility and accommodations to see if you do qualify. You can get things like reader access, you can get extended test taking time, whatever resources that you need, because I want to make sure that, I'm testing your knowledge and not your other abilities, input, blocking your ability to show me your knowledge. Okay. All right. So that's the information that you need to contact for that. Okay. So on Canvas, course layout, there's this really cool thing under home, I think. You can go into set notifications and you can receive notifications by either text or email, and you can select whatever you want to be notified. If I update your grade, if I grade you'll get a text or an email. If I post something, you'll get a text and email. So you can select whatever you want to be notified by, and it will automatically email or text you. I highly recommend that. Okay, just to make sure that you are keeping on track with this course. When you go to the home page and the to-do list, these are all deadlines. So this does not mean that that's when it's open. That this means when it's due by. Okay, so don't start by this date and time, but this is when it has to be submitted. Okay. Course layout, syllabus. I'm also a huge fan of Matrix. So what if I told you the information you seek is in the syllabus? Again, same thing, everything all the information that you need is on the syllabus. Okay. Oops, sorry. The announcements page is another one that you will want to get really familiar with. Thinking Storm, we don't have anymore. But that's okay because we have something better. We have RTA. So RTA this term, her name is Lily, and you will be getting an email from her shortly. Okay. She is amazing. She has worked with me for the past 2 terms. So I'm very happy to have her as my TA. She is, I think she's a doctorate student. I think she's going either for her master's or her PhD in OT, which, is greatly aligned with a lot of you. And she knows this stuff really well. So I highly recommend, like sometimes students will form study groups and invite her to the study group. She's very accessible. She knows like the younger people stuff, like how to do apps and younger people stuff. I don't know. Okay. Weekly course announcements with supplemental links, and then the preparing for exams and study guide, which I'll provide a week before the exams, are good resources. So once you get onto Canvas, go into the modules really will tell you exactly what you need for that week. So week 1, here are all the things you need to do. Okay, so if you follow the weekly modules, that will cover everything. Okay. Then in the modules, you'll find objectives. That's what you want to gain from that week. And then from the lecture component, here's what you'll see. It'll tell you download these things, watch this video, and then it says read, but like I said, it's not do it if you know, because the textbook does have a lot of additional examples, because you know, for me as a learner, I need as many examples as possible, and that's when I use the textbook, or I use it for images. You'll definitely need it for lab, but otherwise, in terms of if you want to know what you need to know for the exam, it's all in here in the first 2 bullets. Lab component, the PDF is your main source, and then the lab video. Okay. Recommended weekly schedule. This is intense. I want you to have fun with this class because it really is fun, and you're going to find that you will use it outside of your program. You need it for your own personal information, science literacy, but it is a lot of content. So break it down. Do it day by day. So Monday and Tuesday, start by printing and downloading the videos, watching the lecture and lab videos. Wednesday, Thursday, rewriting your notes, editing the script, images, and then completing the assignments and post them by Friday. And then Friday, review your notes, do the worksheets, the cognitive maps, and then Saturday, Sunday, think about taking the quizzes. Okay. All right. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
We'll be able to get a copy of the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
All
I will
right.
post this and the recording of the video.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? So while you're thinking about your questions, I do want to put this on the screen. So please complete this Google form, because I determine what date and times to have the review sessions based on what the class needs. So if the class needs an evening time to meet, like today, or a morning time or afternoon time, I just go by whatever the majority of the students say. So if you fill out this form, it lets me know what time works best for the class to have the review sessions, as well as get to know you a little bit more, and maybe important things that I should know about you. Okay, so please fill out this form. And yeah, questions? Any other questions? I'll hang on if you have any other questions.